Hey everyone, this is alexusadays, and we're continuing REST API testing with Postman. So today we're in module number 8, and this is where we're going to get to the core of testing with Postman. For API testing practice, we will work with Restful-booker public API. So you can see the link, and I'm going to go there in a second. And we will work in CRUD fashion and add tests as we go. So CRUD means create, read, update, and delete. This is an approach when you work with tests. You want to create data, you want to be able to read data, you want to be able to update that data, and then to delete that data to keep your environment clean. So we will create multiple requests and look more into a JSON payload to provide and receive data, authorization, that contains credentials or token for user authentication, cookie that carries information about the client previous interactions with the server, and then multiple Postman functions for data validation. Also, don't be shy and dive into Postman documentation if you want to find something specific. It is very good. You have a convenient way to search through the Postman docs to find the things that you're looking for. Okay, so let's go ahead and navigate to Restful-booker. So restful-booker.herokuapp.com/API doc. And also, if you want, keep learning.postman.com/docs/introduction/overview open as well. So here's the search. If you need to find something in Postman that you want to figure it out, you don't know how to do, this is a very good resource to go to. Okay. All right, so we are at the Restful-booker, and let's also open our Postman. So maybe I'll have it like this, where I can lay over from one place to another with a click. All right. So what we want to start with, we want to start with a new collection. So let's add one, and let's call it Restful-booker. And here we are. So if we're following CRUD approach, first thing we need to create a booking. So let's go into the API docs, and here we have create booking. So there's a post request that we need to send to this link. Let's grab the link and let's add a request. So the method is post. Let's choose that, and let's paste the link to create a request. But when we post a request, we also need to provide a body. So we go to the body, and the body that we will be sending here, it is in curl. The body is contained here in parentheses. Let's copy that as well. So we're doing everything according to the documentation. And when you test an API at work, this is also what you should do. You should go through the document and follow along the document. And if you see discrepancy between the document and how API behaves, you want to open a bug, right? So the body is here and it's in a JSON format. So we're gonna, from the opening parentheses up to the last one that is closing, I'm gonna highlight it and copy it. And here we want to select raw, and we want to make sure that the JSON is selected. So we're sending a body in the JSON format, and then we can paste it here. Okay, so this is our create request. Let's rename it. So this will create booking. So we know what's happening here, right? And let's save it at the top. Okay, so this request is saved. We did not send it yet, right? I did not send it. So maybe let's give it some specifics so we know that actually it was created. So let's give a first name as alexusadays, right? So when I hit the send button, this request is going to go to this link, and it will create this booking for this particular person with a first name alexusadays. So we know that that's who we are. So let's send it out. And as you can see, once we send it, we got an actual booking ID coming back. So request was created. We got a 200 OK status code. and there's an ID created for that particular request. Some of the tests that you can typically do when you create a request and you post something, well, you need to verify the data that you're sending out was actually properly created, right? So if we go to scripts, we can go into the snippets. So there's some pre-made snippets available. So first thing that we can verify is the status code. Is it 200? Yes, it is 200. So let's grab that. Status code is 200. The PM test is where the test starts. Status code is 200 is the name of the test. And then there's a function. And inside that function, you have an actual response verification of the status code. And it's saying 200. Now, if you're having some trouble with looking at the JavaScript in the Postman, feel free to follow my JavaScript for testers. I think it's going to give you enough foundation to be able to follow on easily. Okay, so we're going to verify the status code. What else can we verify? So maybe we can start looking in some data, right? So how can we start looking in the data? So first we need to capture the response. And we need to store the response in the variable. So this thing that comes back, we need to grab it. So I can say, I need to create a variable, and I'm going to create it like a const response. And within the response, I need to do PM. So PM, that means this is something that Postman provides. So PM response dot JSON. So what that will do, it will grab the JSON from the response, this whole thing, and store it in the response variable. Okay? So we have this whole thing now available. Now, how can we look into, let's say, first name and verify that first name is actually alexusadays? So we have to dive into the response itself. So it starts here at the first parentheses. Then it goes into the booking, so right here, and then within the booking there is first name. So let's print it out first to make sure that we pull out the correct data. So console.log, let's do response, then dot, so we go into the booking, and then we go into the first name, and let's see what that brings. So we can open console here and run request again. And now we get alexusadays. So the new booking ID was created. So we keep on creating new users for now. It doesn't matter as long as we can grab the actual value that we provided upon creation, a unique value, which would be our like unique first name. All right, so we can see that this has been printed out. So this value is actually returned. We're grabbing it. We're showing using the console that the value is there. So now we want to do some validation. So we can say pm.test, and we need to create a test name for that. So let's verify first name is alexusadays, right? So kind of know what's going on here. Then we want to have a function here, function, and parentheses, and within parentheses we want to provide the actual assertion, right? How do we do that? We can use expect. So pm dot expect, okay? And then we say response dot booking dot first name. So this whole thing, right? So just copy this whole thing. And we can either provide a string, so a text that we want to verify, or we can store the text that we want to verify in the variable and then verify that variable. So let's say let me create a variable, and I will call it const first name equals, and I'm gonna store the alexusadays inside that variable, this value right here. Now I can say response.booking.firstname dot to dot, and here we have equal. And with an equal, I want to provide what I want it to be equal to. So I can have it as a text value like this, right? But since we already stored it within a variable, I'm just going to say to equal first name. Let's remove the console output here. So now we have two tests. One is verifying the status code. The other is verifying that value, the first name that we provide during the creation, that in fact we're getting the first name back that is we're providing during the creation of the booking. So let's send it out. Here are our tests. So there's only one been so far. Let's send it one more time. And we have the second test ready. So verify first name is alexusadays. So if I store something else, let's say this will be Bob Smith. If I'll send it out now I have a problem. Verify first name is alexusadays, so that's the name of the test right here. And then the assertion error is coming expected alexusadays to be equal to Bob Smith. So this is the value that was received. This is the value that we expected, the one that we provided here. Okay, so let's go back to alexusadays and let's send it out. All right, perfect. So we created a booking. This again, follow the CRUD, C-R-U-D, right? So created a booking. Now, after creating it, we need to read it. How do we read it? Well, if we look at the response, we're not going to send it more. We just created it. The booking ID is 2170. And if we go back to the documentation, there is a get booking, and get booking expects a particular ID. And here's an example with curl. So at the very end of your URL, you want to provide an ID right here. So I can just copy the link. Let's go back. Let's create. So let's hit that three dots, add a request, and this will be a get request. We can paste the URL here, and let's call it get booking that we created, something like that. The naming and for the request, that's going to be more up to you, but typically when you start working as a QA engineer, if there is an already API verification going on, you will have some format that you should stick to. You will have some templates or generally some other requests that you can follow along. Okay, so get request, let's save it. We don't really need here anything aside from providing the ID. And the ID for the created request we received back here in the body. So we can just copy it. We can provide it in the actual URL. And we can send it out. And now we're getting back, we're reading that user that we created. And it's, in fact, it's alexusadays, right? And everything seems to be working pretty good. Now we can grab the whole thing. We can just copy every test that we have so far for the creation. We can have it in post response scripts and just paste it here. So you can highlight the whole thing, press Control C or Command C if you're on Mac, or just right click copy. Let's go back in here, paste it, right click, paste, or Control V or Command C if you're on Mac, and everything is going to be back in here. And run it. Test failed. One of the tests failed. Cannot read properties of undefined reading first name. Okay, so the first name is alexusadays, and it's failing because, well, when we were creating a request, we had an ID. The whole body is right here. We had multiple key value pairs. The first one was ID, and then we had a booking, and within booking, we had multiple other values. Now, when we're doing get, we're going directly into ID. So the body that we receive actually has no ID field, key value pair. This is not here. There's no booking per se as well, right? All we get back, just everything that is inside the booking 2170. So that means we don't need to dive into booking here. We just go from the response that we stored, this whole thing, into the first available key value pair, which is first name. So we want to delete the booking response dot first name. So this is the whole response. This is dot first name. That would be dot last name. That would be dot total price, and so on. And let's rerun it. Okay, and everything is passing. Perfect. I think we're looking pretty good so far. So we created, we read. The next one would be update, right? So let's take a look at our API documentation. So we have update booking that uses put method. And when you use put method, you want to provide the whole body that you're trying to update, because it's going to update everything that you sent in the body. Or we have partial update using patch. And when you use a patch, you can update just some values. Not all of the API will implement patch. Most of the API might only have just put. So that will depend on the place where you work, how they actually implemented it. So let's just grab put for now. So link again, the whole URL plus the ID that we're trying to update. So I'm just gonna copy that, going back here, create new request. And let's call it update booking. Booking, and let's hit enter, provide the URL. We will select put, and we need to have an actual ID 2170 here that we're passing along in the link. It also tries to suggest, you can see it also tries to suggest you query parameters. So query parameters are after like question mark, right? You can enter key value pairs here, or it asks you if you want to have a pass variable. So you can put 2170 here, and then it will read this as a pass variable. But I don't think we really need to unless we're getting it from somewhere else, and that's going to be more kind of a complex setup. So we're just going to have it straight directly into the URL, just like that, right? Okay. If we're doing put, let me also save this. You can see the put is updated. We need to provide a body. The body that we got in the response is this whole thing. So we want to grab that. Let's go to row, JSON, and provide the body. So additional needs, let's see what do we have. So this is just a string. Additional needs, string, any other need the guest has. So there is really nothing else. Like there's no restriction. It's not a set particular options that you provide. That's whatever you want. So my additional needs, I want some bananas, right? I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna update now this booking, and I'm gonna update my additional needs from breakfast to bananas. And let's send it out. Oh, now we get forbidden. Well, what is happening here? Let's take a look at our API. So the API says that you want to have either cookie with the token, or you want to have authorization, and you have a default authorization right here, this particular code, right? This token. Okay, so if I want to have a cookie token, it is within the auth request at the top right here, create token, and you want to send it to the auth endpoint, and it's a post, and you want to provide the username and password for those for this post request. So I can do that. let me create new request and call it authorization, right? I'm going to call it authorization. This is the URL, so it has auth and it's a post request. Now for the body to do authorization, the JSON that we're sending in is right here. So username is admin and password is 123. All right, let's grab that and provide it in the body. So we are sending username admin, password 123, and let's send it. Now we received a token. I'm going to save the request. And based on the description, the API description, we want to provide this. Where's our update booking? So we want to provide a token right here as a cookie. Interesting enough, in the header, as a cookie, we're providing token equals the token value that we just retrieved. Most likely, if you're working at the company, they will give you some authorization that you will insert here in the authorization tab. And you have multiple different authorization methods that you can pick from here. So maybe you're going to have basic auth where you can provide username and password. The same way like you log in into a website. Or you might have a bearer token. Or you might have a JWT bearer token with encryption. Or you might have an API key, and so on and so on. So this is something that you will typically discuss with the developers, and they will tell you what you need to do if authorization is required. But according to Restful-booker documentation, the header is either accepting a cookie or authorization. The cookie, the token we generated, authorization is a default value right here. So let's start with the cookie. Cookie is a field name, so you can just copy, go into your header, right? Remember, there's a bunch of hidden headers that we don't need because we don't want to see because this is something Postman generates, but we can now add a cookie, right? So we can just paste cookie, let's remove optional. So it is a cookie, and then it should say token equals token value. Again, I'm just going to copy here, and that goes into the value. Token value. What is the token value? Well, that's actually the one that we generated using our authorization. Let me pull it up here. I'm actually doing it in the wrong place, so no auth here. And this is not where I should be adding authorization, right? Authorization is failing for me in the update booking. That's where I get 403 forbidden. So I'm going to header here. Let me grab the cookie, the key name, and let me grab this template. So token equals token value. And now in the authorization, I'm just grabbing this token that I received, and I'm going to paste it in here. Okay, so the token provided, this is, I'm going to delete this. I didn't really need this in authorization. So I am sending authorization with this request. I'm generating a token, and then I provide this token in a cookie for the put request to update my booking. That's what it wants by the API documentation. Let's send it. Method not allowed. I think maybe a little bit too much time passed. Let's try to create one more time. So we created 3580. Let's retrieve it. Send. Okay, we're updated. We got get. We created. We got get. Now let's try to send it one more time with put, with this body, send it out. Okay, now it went through. So Restful-booker resets the API periodically. So whatever we created was wiped out, so we had to create it one more time. And now you can see that additional needs were updated to bananas. Perfect. And again, I'm going to copy and paste my tests that I have. So script, post response. I'm going to verify first name, but also I can create a test, and you can have multiple tests within one test. You can have multiple expects inside this particular test, but I'm just going to create new, and I'm going to say verify bananas. And what we're doing here now, we're going to be looking at additional needs, right? Expect response that additional needs, and it should be equal to bananas. In quotes, I'm not storing this in a variable like I did with first name. I'm just directly passing it the text inside the assertion right here on line 13. Let's run it. And now we have 3 tests passing. So we verified status code, we verified the first name, we verified bananas. If you want, you can just duplicate your GET request, and you can rename it, let's say verify or get update, right? Let's say get updated booking, something like that. And we want to retrieve 3580. Let's get it. So I just want to make sure that there is still bananas for that particular booking ID, and there is. So I can just grab all of the tests that I have from here, put them back into the booking, save it, send out, all 3 passing. Perfect. And the last one, operation for CRUD. So create, read, update, delete. We want to add a delete request, right? So add request. Let's take a look here in our delete booking. So we're again providing just the ID at the end. And in our case, that is 3580. We want to update method from get to delete. And is there anything else? Well, you can have authorization or a cookie again. So if I'll send it just like that, it says forbidden. We already used, as an example, in the header, we used the cookie from the token, right, that we grabbed from authorization endpoint. Now let's actually use a built-in authorization field. Now that's a default field. If you don't want to grab a token, you can just use that. So we're going to use that instead. So I'm going back to header, and here I will add key authorization. I need to remove the optional text. So authorization, and the value is this whole thing. The default, it's like a default key that it provides for the API here, and paste it. Okay. Now again, going back to authorization, typically you would have it maybe in the header, but typically you would have it here in this tab, and you would pick one and you will talk with your developers which one is being used, what is the, let's say, API key for that to work, and so on. But per this API, we're just adding it to the header. So now, instead of the token that we generated with authorization request, we actually here, and I again pasted in the wrong place, in this delete request, so I'm just taking everything from here into delete. In this delete request, we're gonna use, I saved it, we're gonna use this authorization, the default header, with a default value with that we don't generate, we just provide it inside the API, right? And I want to just delete this thing, save the request, save this one, just going through all of the requests that we have and saving them one by one. Save, this is already saved. Okay, let's call this delete booking. So we delete the booking 3580, and I added my authorization as query parameters. You can see all of this stuff came into the link, which is wrong. Has to be part of the header. So again, go into the header. Key is authorization. Value is this one. So copy, paste, and I want to delete the parameters. So that's not where it's supposed to be. It has to be in the header. Let's save it and let's send it out. Method is not allowed. Okay, so I suspect the same thing probably happened with the ID. Maybe it was already resetted. So let's create a booking. New ID is 1575. Let's just get it. Okay, coming back. Let's update it. The token also expired, looks like. Yep. All right, let's generate new token. Let's add it right here. Okay, that worked. And let's now get it one more time to make sure that we're getting our bananas. And the last one is deleted. Send it out. All right, 201 created. That's a positive response. And as a final step, we can just duplicate. Let's say get verify booking deleted, verify booking deleted, right? And let's just send it out one more time to see what happens if you deleted a record and then try to retrieve it. And it says 404 not found. Perfect. So it's no longer there. So everything works as expected. Now, a couple things that I want to note. So we created a bunch of requests, right? So we posted a record, then we got the record that it was posted, then we updated it using put, then we again get it to make sure it is updated, then we deleted it, then we tried to get it one more time, and we verified it's actually deleted, and we can add a script, for example, here for verification. Status code is 404. So that means, we're verifying that it was actually, in fact, deleted, right? Send it one more time, and it passes. Now, for all of those, I can save response. And now I will have a response as a reference, right, for future if I want to, if a response is coming back. Or I can save for all of them if I want to, right? So all of my requests went through. I had the successful response that I need to verify. You can also give a name to the responses if you really want to. Like this, you can have multiple requests, this saved response. So I can say this booking created pass, something like that, and save it as a future reference. Something changes with the API, something now you send it one more time and your request is wrong. You can use your saved response as a reference. If the new response is acting differently, you can go into the saved one and use it. So example of created booking. Let's say created booking example, something like that, right? Rename updated booking example, and so on. All right, so you have multiple requests and responses. So a couple of things that I wanted to note. Create booking gives us code 200, which is okay within the scope of the API, because if you go create booking, if you look at the response example, it does give you 200 okay. But typically, and if you looked into status code, you know that when you create something using a post request, you should be getting back 201. Okay? That's one thing. Another thing here is delete booking. Also generated 201 created, which is completely wrong. Like if you see something like that happening, 201 is used for post request. When you create a record, you will get successful 201. For delete, and again, it has one field success 200 here as a description for the documentation. And then the actual example response has 201. So both of those are wrong. You want to see 204. 204 is a successful response for deleting a record. Now, when you try to retrieve it and says 404 not found, that is actually correct. Okay, so today we went through an API, restful-booker.com. We went through multiple API requests and we created them, recreated them based on the documentation in Postman. And with us sending those requests, we were able to add testing scripts to verify some of the values coming back. Mostly we were looking into status codes and particular data values coming back with those responses. Okay, so I think that's a very good way to get you started with an actual examples hands-on and kind of go into the CRUD for creating a booking. All right, so this was Alex USA Days. Thanks for watching and bye-bye.